as well, so it's just gonna be...
Yeah, I think we can just jump into it.
Sure thing. Well, welcome, people, to this very extremely structured podcast with the rogue boys from Maxroll.
That's right.
We basically wanted to sit down and have a chat about the Season 10 PTR. But first, let's introduce ourselves. Dai, why don't you start?
What do I say?
Who are you?
Okay.
What's on your dating profile?
My favorite color is red, and I play the rogue. Generally speaking, usually the bow rogue stuff, and yeah, right guys on max roll, usually bow rogue stuff.
Still waiting for the DT dioxide gameplay.
Taru.
I'm Matthias the Gamer on YouTube. I recently joined Maxroll in Season 9, doing some guides. Got kind of some random guides, like Poison Trap, but also Flare and Penshot. But I've played Rogue since the beginning of Diablo 4, every season. I'm one of the few people that actually love this game. So there's that.
And I'm Ava, or Avarlin. I'm the rogue class lead on Maxroll. So I basically tell these two to please make sure our guides are up. I'm also a long-time theory crafter and tester for Diablo 4. And now we're here.
We would all be a lot less smart without you, Ava.
We would all have weapon mastery on
Diablo
poison
4.
imbuement if it wasn't for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is true.
My wife says, and you are married to a beautiful lady. Put that in your bio. So I guess she can hear me from the other room. She's working.
All right. Well,
yeah,
that's important.
It is very important to put that in the dating bio, to be honest. I'm also, together with someone, it's important. But either way, so the goal for today is basically just to talk about Season 10, and how we sort of feel like it is for rogues. We're gonna talk a little bit about our first impressions playing the PTR, since we're all playing rogue. Then we're gonna talk a little bit about what surprised us and what we feel is strong. Do like some sort of impromptu tier listing. Maybe something that talk a little bit about what we feel would be good changes from now until live, and then anything random that comes up from stream or random thoughts we have at the end, I suppose. So first impressions, guys. What do you think about Season 10 so far for Rogue?
Do you want to kick us off, Dai? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Nah, you're first, because I had to introduce myself as first.
Sure.
You first.
I mean, I love the idea of Chaos Armor. As every season, I theory craft like 10 builds, and it's such a copy paste between seasons, and there's always the same mythics and the same slots and the same uniques, and it's just and that's people make fun of Diablo 4, because they're saying like Blizzard made the builds for us, because if you're playing rapid fire, you put on the rapid fire items and you're done. But I feel like in this season 10 now, there are some choices, even though sometimes they might be obvious, but I think there's a little more I still have not gotten over the guy who put together, was a Kepter, the rapid fire cold imbuement build with using the new unique crossbow that I had kind of thrown in the bin already. That I was like, there's no way there's going to be a build with this, it's too slow. But the fact that he broke all the norms of what we would consider like a rogue build. There's no Dark Shroud, no clone, and using potions to play overpower, it's just it blew my mind.
I think he did that in Season 8. Yeah. I know you're talking about. Yeah, cool. He did it. Yeah, and that was really the only way that you can get rapid fire to do anything at the time. But it was really, I don't say difficult is the right word to use. It was really clunky to play, but it was strong and it hit hard at the time. So, but yeah, he kind of took that and and made like a version of that for the Orphan Maker. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So options like that, I feel like more and more, I feel like there's going to be surprises in season 10 with like, oh, I didn't think of that combination, because there are just opened up the options we have available to us. So that's like my initial like positive towards season 10 is that like just it allows for more creativity for build making, which is like my favorite part of this game and this genre of video games. So in terms of other parts of season 10, we can talk about Infernal Hordes later, and I have some opinions about that. I'm playing it right now. But,
Same, literally on the stream right now. Playing it.
What about you guys? First impressions?
So I do like the whole idea of the Chaos armor. More so the fact that it's a countdown. I know not everybody will agree with me on that, but it gives us something to chase. Something that isn't, let me find this item, try to get billions of gold, get 2 or 3 other items, to kind of gear my, my character. I have to actually like play the game and farm and actually get the said uniques for my build. Also for some builds, not all builds, obviously, but some builds, the Chaos unique armors can kind of go on multiple different slots as you're progressing through a build. Like for instance, like the basic builds, a lot of the glove uniques can kind of mostly fit anywhere, just as you're progressing. So like I think it's a really cool progression mechanic that keeps you wanting to continue to hunt to get the stuff in the right slots while you're filling your slots with the Chaos unique. So I think that's actually pretty cool mechanic itself. I do think that the seasonal power is still just powers. I'll comment about that later, but they're pretty simplistic. It's kind of straightforward. I do like the idea that there is punishment with the power. Like you do get quite a bit of power with some of these powers, but there's also a downside. And trying to figure out how to deal with the downside is actually something that I've always thought was pretty cool with anything, literally. So while it is a season of powers, and I'm not really that excited about powers in general, I do kind of like the seasonal mechanic compared to some of the other powers that we've had before. In terms of Rogue is concerned, I wish we had an extended PTR so we can actually test the things that we really need to test, or they can kind of do like a second iteration of something. It's like, oh, this didn't work at all. Okay, well, let's give you another week so you can, test the thing. Because I really feel like going into live, for instance, with the Orphan Maker, for example, I feel like a lot is going to happen to that weapon, and we're not going to really know how it truly functions until it hits live. But the way that it currently functions on PTR, there's obviously some bugs with it. It's kind of pretty janky. It is a pretty new style of play that they're trying to introduce, which is hit and run. But it's like without getting like a second iteration of like how to make that feel better, we're kind of just jumping into live with like, well, hope this works, sort of kind of thing. So, and then of course there's also Rain of Rails, which doesn't even work at all. I actually had like a video clip of Rain just literally drizzling on the target and dealing 0 damage, which is actually quite hilarious. So when the build guys I'm responsible for, I can't even test, right? So about that. But other than that,
drizzle of arrows.
Drizzle of arrows. Yeah, it's just like, it's just but in terms of Rogue in general is concerned, we haven't really gained any more power than since last season. So like in terms of pit push is concerned, we're pretty much at the bottom of the barrel once again. But Rogue has always felt good in T4 content, especially with the Infernal Horde stuff. I mean, Rain does really well. Theoretically, Rain does really well. DT of course does well. The basic attacks, do pretty well too as well. Pin shot, etc. So Rogue has always felt good in T4. It's just, would have been nice if we had just a little more ounce so we can feel like we're making quicker progress with leveling our glyphs than the season before. So, and we're still stuck playing clone, and I'm not too much of a fan of that either. But yeah,
someone made a good point. It's like because Rogue kind of the ceiling is around tier 100, so for casuals, they're probably not gonna get to tier 100. So they were saying like the ideal ceiling for a build, if it's like around 115 or 110 or something, then like even the casuals can at least level up their glyphs with the build around tier 100 pretty comfortably. But Rogue, I think is like, it's slightly too weak. I do agree with that.
Honestly, I think like you guys touch upon a lot of the stuff that we all share, I guess, like perspectives on it. I do feel like the rough part about this season is kind of the strength of this season as well. Like as we were talking about, like, you know, the chaos uniques and what happens with build crafting out of that, right? Whereas like, oh, I got this thing, now I can do swap to this item and switch things around. There's like really cool on the fly sort of adjustments to getting, you know, a good chaos unique. But at the same time, I think that's also the weakness of the season, because basically we are expecting that everyone can make those adjustments and understand how the game works to the point where they are comfortable making those sort of adjustments. So I think this season is like really cool for us, or people that are very in tune with how the game works and how you do the damage and what's required of certain builds. And I think it's going to be kind of rough for people that aren't as in tune with how the game functions, right? But I'm like, my first impressions with this is we are gonna be basically just as strong as we were. I don't think we're gonna have like a big swap in that regard, and I think the most of the stuff in Infernal Horde feels good. We're gonna talk more about it later, I guess, but like I can actually play that mode and be like, oh, you know, it's not too bad for most builds. But as I'm playing TB right now in Infernal Horde, I'm like actually full on despairing. I killed 5 goblins on the goblin chaos waves, and on DT and even Dance of Knights, I was basically killing like as they spawned. So there are definitely some awkward things with that. But yeah, I don't think we're getting further into the pit, and I don't think we relatively got stronger. I don't think we transformed our gameplay in a lot of ways, apart from maybe Orphan Maker, but that is very to be determined in terms of how strong it is. So I guess we'll see. Was there any like big PTR surprises for you guys?
It's a good question. I mean, the bugs are always not surprises that there are bugs, but like I jumped in the first 30 minutes, put together rain of arrows, ready to go, and I was like, wait, where are my arrows? So like those are the obvious surprises. But I guess
on the stream, man. That was hilarious. That was so hilarious.
Yeah. I think I'm surprised in a good way with the balance of Rogue. Like the past couple PTRs, I played like 15 builds, and the fact that they're so similar in terms of strength to each other, it's just like, I guess it's like I'm surprised because that hasn't been the case in the history of Diablo 4. It's been there's one build that is like 20 times stronger than the rest of Rogue builds, but now it feels like there's 20 builds within 5 to 10 tiers of each other, which last season we got a glimpse of that, like, oh, actually there's some good balance within Rogue itself, and I kind of feel like we're even got more builds squished together in the same, like the tier 80 builds are now tier 95 builds, and all the tier 100 builds are now 95 builds. So it's like everything becomes 95 pits builds. So that to me is, I'd say I've been surprised by.
Most Rogue builds are sufficiently mediocre.
Sufficiently mediocre. I like that.
So it's like, so you know, and the funny thing about it is that like just for T4, that's kind of all you really need, right? And so like as long as you can move quickly, then that's pretty much it for, I guess, a large portion of the player base. But it is funny that you do say that, Matthias, that like, yeah, a lot of our builds are pretty close and relative close in power for, you know, between each other in the pit tiers. And ironically enough, I feel like a lot of that has to do with, well, clone, right? Because if you're building around clone, then basically your clone is pretty much carrying. So like you're taking a lot of the similar aspects, similar uniques or whatever like that to make the clone do the whatever, and then the skill that you're using basically for the clone to deal damage is going to basically be your carry out. So you're using a lot of the similar stuff. So I'm gonna say your outcome should be pretty similar, but but yeah, with it being kind of as homogenized as it is, I'm not really surprised that that's the case. I mean, it was like that with Azurath this season, right? Where basically, you know, uh, you had like 7 different versions of Azurath, and they were all pretty close to each other. But the reality is that it's because of Azurath, right? Azurath, was or is the reason for that. Um, but it does feel good to be able to kind of swap between a couple of decent builds and feel like I can pretty much dominate T4 at whim with multiple different ways of doing it.
Mm.
I just want to, I guess, which clone would go on a
Vacation.
permanent vacation of sorts. But yeah,
I would
they're not
say,
wrong.
like my biggest surprise so far is that we have as many builds as we have in the top that isn't clone based. We have Dance of Knives doing literally no ultimate. We have Rapid Fire doing no ultimate. We have Twisting Blades doing no clone. So we have all of these archetypes that are finally seeing play without clone being as oppressive as it once has been. On top of that, we also have like the other surprise for me personally was the fact that Asher Wrath is actually still viable. People were saying like, "Oh my god, it's the death of Asher Wrath," but it's like 6 or 7 pit tiers weaker. That is still plenty fine for most people in most scenarios. Like if something was doing like 102 before, it's now doing like around 95. You're gonna level glyphs and everything with that. So I'm actually kind of pleasantly surprised that it just didn't kill off Asher Wrath, but made other option better, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, it's like Pen Shot was one of the big Azeroth builds last season, but I think Azeroth might actually be better than regular Pen Shot now,
Yeah.
even though with all the buffs. So that is a bit sad, but yeah, it is what it is.
A bit sad. just a tiny bit.
A tiny bit, yeah. I mean, with the Chaos Armor and everything, just makes up for a lot of the nerf to Azeroth as well. So.
Yeah, the problem as well is that the compounding effect of a lot of stuff was removed for Asher Wrath, like the scaling itself, the attack speed scaling, but then the seasonal powers that we got cannot buff Asher Wrath at all. So you're kind of in that situation where you're like, well, we lost seasonal powers, we lost that scaling, and then didn't gain anything else to kind of buff it up. We got the Chaos Armor multis, right? But depending on the Asher Wrath variation, you can't actually even almost equip them. Like Shadow Step, for example, I'm fairly certain can't equip anything but Fist of Fate on Helmet, for example. And that's the only so that's like a small bump, but it's not a lot, right? In the grand scheme of things. So we've all been kind of like testing a lot of builds and talking about a little bit about the relative balance between them. But I'm actually like I kind of want to like go back to a comment that we said earlier about the if everything was slightly stronger, then glyphs would be easier to level. That kind of thing, right? Because it's a lot of people have been saying that rogue is too weak right now. That basically, not only are we the weakest class, but we're just too weak overall. And I'm kind of like in two minds about it because we definitely have at least 10 different builds right now that can clear around 100. And I feel like if a class can clear to 100, which is basically the only, end game we have in PvE right now, are we actually too weak? What do you guys think?
I am. Yeah, you go, Die.
So of course it's all relative, right? So like when you have another class that's like bopping like pit tier 220 or something, right? Then relative is going to feel bad with less commas in your number, right? Compared to another class that can do the things. But in terms of what's actually important for the content, technically speaking, anything above 100 is really you know aspirational content, right? More so of, you do it if you want, but there's nothing efficient about or nothing really efficient about going, doing a 105, 110 in terms of what it actually affects in your character and your build and farming, et cetera, et cetera. So, however, I do feel, when people say that, that's kind of what they're talking about, right? And you can't really deny that is the case. But in terms, for the game content itself, is actually, I think, hitting 100 or 105 is better for the game long term, because you want to have somewhat of a chase. If you can level up all your glyphs in like a day or so, then you're pretty much defeated like one progression of the game so fast, so quickly. But we're so used to doing that on some builds that people just look at that as the norm. It's like, oh well, I can't level my glyphs in 15 minutes, all my glyphs, then yeah, this build sucks, this class is terrible, right? And that becomes the norm. And because that's kind of the norm now, it makes us look bad by comparison, right? But the reality is, there should be a longer progression to be able to level your glyphs. It shouldn't, going from 90 to 100 should take a little longer. It should take a couple of days, maybe a week before you get all of your glyphs leveled up or something, for someone who plays a lot. Like, that's progression that makes you want to play the game. So I guess I probably answered the question like in a roundabout way. If you if you make it relative to what the other classes are doing, then yeah, we feel weakened is bad. But if you think about it in terms of how the content is concerned, I think the way that Rogue is kind of how the other classes should feel leveling the glyphs.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's a great point, and I think that's why I've been free from all these concerns of cross-class balance, because I only play Rogue and I don't even read the patch notes for other classes. Like, I'm in a vacuum of Rogue in my little bubble, and it's great because it really is irrelevant what barbs are doing for my experience of the game, and that is making my experience better because I'm not living in this comparison. And I'm also not comparing last season to this season. It's like, what is exactly what Dai's talking about? Like, what's my game experience of playing through the game as it is right now with the current strength of the class? And yeah, it's just like ignoring what it could be, ignoring what it was, and just taking Rogue for what it is. And in that sense, as I think Rogue is in a fantastic spot in terms of the grand scheme of D4. It seems weird to me when these classes and builds that are super easy to play, I haven't even played them, but that's what people say, like whether sorcerers, like you click a button and you teleport everywhere and everything on the whole screen dies. It's like, I don't know, is that fun? I'm not sure if that's what I would want Rogue to be. Like, yeah. I mean, I play all sorts of video games, and I'm oftentimes, if whatever I'm playing is too strong, I'm begging the devs for a nerf, because it's like, it's actually making my experience worse by being too strong.
Yeah. So I think my hot take on this, right, and it's not really a hot take even, I think the progression curve in D4 is problematic in a lot of sense, right? Because we basically get to peak power before we are done with glyph grinding in some cases, right? Like, we get to it very quickly. I would have preferred that the Omega busted, like, super, builds took longer to build, and then that you have a longer progression curve than just sort of like, you get the gear and then you do progression like pit and then you're done, right? If the progression was that you had to play a lot to unlock the Omega potential of doing pits, like at a very high level, then I think that the grind to 100 would be more entertaining for more people, because that, like, oh, you will just progress and continue doing that grind for longer instead of just basically skipping the entire end game.
Yeah,
because like if you have the system that we have right now, basically everyone just gets the gear very quickly, like incredibly quick, and then they just get to the end of their gear progression like within a week or whatever, get stuck on pit at whatever cap that class can do, and then they're sort of done for the season, right? And if that isn't high enough to do pits, to get like the glyphs leveled, then they get frustrated. That at least like my impression of how the progression system has been in D4 for a long time now.
That sounds about right. But yeah, I'd probably say Matisse and Aztec is probably like the more so the hot take than anything else.
Yeah.
Because it's like, because like I mean, because I mean the normal thing is just like, well, buff this or buff out class to be as strong as X class, right? In one specific content, which in the context is pay pushing, right? But there is so much more to the game than just that. But unfortunately, that is the only metric we really have in terms of like scaling metric. And as long as that's there, then we're gonna always kind of have that problem in general. But I don't fault anyone for like feeling like those who like just like seeing the big numbers. I mean, and it is an action RPG, right? So like for some players and people play different, for different reasons. So for some people, it's just like I want to see the biggest number possible, or I want the highest pit tier number next to my name, on X third party leaderboard, right? And like that might be the why they play, and if that's the case, then of course their point is valid, right? It's very valid at that point. It's like, well, I want my class to be able to do what the other class is doing for the content that I care about, right? But yeah.
I like the point you made earlier, Dive, with the Chaos Armor and how it is an additional step in the progression. Like if you're purely looking at the journey from day one of a season till maxing your character, like that's what the game is. That's supposed to be like the meat and potatoes of the experience. And as like with certain builds of certain classes, like it seems like you just put the right skills and aspects on and you're one-shotting tier 4, and like that's not great in my opinion. Like in season 9 I was playing Penshot Azarath, and it took me like once I had mythics I was comfortable in tier 4, but it was a journey to get there, and I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the journey of like, oh, finally got a Fist of Fate with GA Lucky Hit. I had a Fist of Fate before, but it didn't have as much Lucky Hit. And now, like, I've slowly but surely each incremental step is making me stronger. Like, that feels good, and I'm excited for I think it's like a source of dopamine that we haven't had with the Chaos Armor. The fact that it's so rare to find these, especially on the right slot, like the right item. If I've farmed for 2 weeks for a Fist of Fate helm, and I finally get it, that's going to be a hype moment that I haven't had in D4 before. So progression is good.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think like my perspective on the let's increase the top end of what every build can clear, I think that is something that, that's fine, whatever, but then the progression curve needs to be longer, right? Because if we basically skip to the end and we're too strong, then this entire progression is meaningless, right? And I think most people, when they were doing the the leveling rush at the start, or when we did the max roll summer blast hardcore event, right, we were intentionally weaker and we have a much longer progression curve, the game actually feels pretty good to play. It feels better than I think most people would give it credit for, and it's incredibly silly to even say, but it seems to be the case, right? So I would be fine if, like, let's say that every class could do 115, right? But the journey to get the builds to that point would be that much longer. Like, it would be twice as long as it is right now, right? That we would get to like 100, within like a week or two of grinding, but then you would actually need to grind to get the last remaining bit of your progression.
Yeah, I wonder, like, to me, it's like Season 0 and Season 1 felt like good progression. But I wonder how much of that was because I just didn't know the game. Like, I was running Poison Twisting Blades, but I had Edge Master on my two-handed. It's like that wasn't doing anything for me. But because I didn't know better, I was like nerfing myself, and that made for a better experience. I wonder if, like, because we've figured out the game by now, it's like we're too good for like our own self. So like casuals will face like proper resistance in this game because they might use like silly aspects that they shouldn't be using.
Yeah. Oh, Chronix Raid. Hey, Chronix. But yeah, no, I can see where like we're coming from with
That's
that.
your fault, Ava. All your testing.
Yeah, my fault.
If you hadn't figured the game out, we would have been having way more fun.
This do be true. No, but I do think there is some truth to it for sure, right? The fact that, like, wait, this is so loud. Hold up, I can't play Twisting Blades and talk at the same time because I'm basically blasting my own eardrums. One sec. Not Twisting Blades, Dance of Days.
I got 2,000 Ether in a horde, by the way. That was a new record.
Nice.
Thanks to these goblins. They're too good.
So, I do think that we we have solved the game more, right? That is, like, undoubtedly true, right? But I also don't feel like the game being solved is much of the problem. It's just like how the game has evolved to the point where we can just out progress the entire system very early because of the power level of all of the, you know, multipliers or whatever that we have. Right? I think that is like more so the problem, because it's like I said, when we had the max roll event, that progression curve felt fine. Like we were having like a blast. But we were at Paragon 125. We had one unique and one mythic, you know, that like that limitation just made it feel like a more balanced experience. But
it's like we, the characters, are outscaling the monster. Like we're getting stronger faster than they are keeping up with health.
Yeah. So I can definitely see how Blizzard is gonna kind of struggle to do anything about this in a way that it will feel, you know, meaningful for us. But
I mean, and then you have the and then you kind of have the whole idea. Like I won't say like I'm not guilty of this, because I mean partially. So, but it's like I've been hearing people asking, you know, for Infernal Hordes to scale like more, right? And like I love Infernal Hordes. Infernal Hordes is like my favorite type of content to play in this game, right? So like I would love for, you know, Infernal Hordes to scale and be a little bit more challenging as a different way to be able to have a metric to compare our gears and our builds to. At the same time, you know, you also hear other people saying that too. But at the same time, it's like people also want to one-shot stuff on T4, otherwise they feel weak. So like you can't have both, right? You can't want to sit there and, you know, or not want, but be able to sit there and right-click on whatever and just destroy the entire screen for horizontal content such as, you know, Infernal Hordes, Nightmare Dungeons, but at the same exact time want challenge, want to be challenged, or want to be, you know, feel like the game is not just too easy except for when you want to, you know, pit push or like that. So it's one of those things where Blizzard has to kind of, I'm gonna say make a choice, but if I was a developer, is like, or, you know, someone leading a team, it's like, well, what direction do you go? Because then, you know, we're so ingrained and so used to just blasting and just destroying everything in T4, you make that challenging, or you make some aspects in that activity challenging, and then all of a sudden people feel like they took a step back in their builds, like their builds got weaker, right? When in reality that isn't the case. It's just that the content got stronger, but that's not how that's going to be perceived. It's going to be like, oh, you nerfed my build. I was doing this last season, you know, super easy, and I was taking 3 or 4 hits to do the same thing I did in one shot last, you know, this season. What are you doing? So it's like, it's such a tricky thing to introduce more challenge in that sense, while also making people feel like they're still strong, where, you know, while making content matter, making the things that you're hitting, you know, or, you know, whatever you're doing actually matter, like the elites are actually dangerous, or the content actually dangerous outside of pit or whatever. So that's I don't know. Blizzard's really never going to really find a balance with that, I don't think, especially not now, maybe in the expansion over like that. But that's just because we just been honestly spoiled for too long of being able to just decimate T4 for so long, that, or any, you know, the hardest standard difficulty of the content, that doing anything different is just going to feel bad.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for a lot of players. And so we're kind of stuck with that.
Yeah. I'm reading Shah a little bit at the same time, and people are still saying like that it is a struggle for casual players, and I do agree that the game is accelerated for the very informed minority that follows build guides and that might have, you know, just a raw amount of time to actually play the game and, you know, get all of this gear and everything. But the problem is that no matter what we do, I think the best solution to this is getting challenge that is optional. Like optional that like in difficulty increase, or like optional like the mine cages that we had whenever that was introduced. I don't even remember at this point when that was introduced. Like that RIP indeed. But those sort of like that sort of content makes sense because it allows people that want more challenge to get the challenge that they kind of want without costing anything for the people that might not be able to.
Yeah.
But we have
it seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I like, what could be the possible reason why we don't have mine cages in this game when like the unanimous feedback from everyone's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I wonder what, maybe there's something I'm not aware of, but it could be a reason why we don't have mine cages in this game still.
I mean, I think the game also changed, right? Like monster level isn't tracked the same way and all this sort of stuff. It's just player level. So like mine cages, it artificially increased the that was a good one shot. It only increased the monster level, right? But you can't do that the same way now. So it's like, how would that be like how would the actual scaling of the difficulty work with that?
Yeah, I mean, doesn't seem too complicated. I'm thinking like more health, more experience, more loot on the monsters, I guess. But what do I know? I'm not a developer. Maybe there's some reason.
But I guess the thing is too is that, like, you know, with mine cages, let's be honest. Like, you know, we throw that in there, and then that just becomes a necessity and not an option. Because, you know, you throw in that mine cages, things get a little harder. People are going to want more rewards for things being a little harder, and then that just becomes the new standard. Whereas, like, you know, you don't do any content or you don't do anything without popping the mine cage first. So from a developer standpoint, you could go, well, do we just make the content, you know, harder to what the mine cage would have done as standard, or do we just kind of throw the mine cages in there so you have something to click to make you feel like you have another difficulty step up that eventually just becomes the norm, right? It's like there's never going to be a time where you don't use it because it's going to always be beneficial to you, right? So it's no longer an option. It's kind of like a, you know, oh, you just do. Like,
what do you think of like what do you think? It's like ridiculous health scaling, so they get like 20 tiers higher, but then they only get like 5% more experience. So it's like, unless you have a really good build, it's not gonna be worth it. So it's like optional.
I'm totally cool with it. Like so don't get me wrong, I actually like the mine cage. Like I do. I'm just looking at it as like a devil's advocate sort of thing, where it's like you where it's when you do something like that, it just becomes like a good example of this is the Husk. Is it Betrayer's Husk? No, not Husk. What was that thing that made the torment bosses stronger? Like the Uber bosses. You had like regular bosses, and he had an item to use for the Uber boss or whatever.
The little weird shard-looking things, Stygian stones.
Yeah. Stygian stones. Yeah, there you go. Stygian stones. Yeah. So like
trivia.
So like we had we had that, and like, you know, we had that, and then that just became the norm. Like you just did you don't do a run without Stygian stones after a certain point, you know. So I guess what they did was they just removed that, and it's like, you know what, you know, you're just gonna do the strongest one anyway. So why even, you know, bother with having Stygian stone or having two different versions of that if you're just gonna just pop a Stygian stone anyway, right? And then or people are gonna come in and, you know, if they can't do it, they'll find someone else who can do it and just offer Stygian stones as like the payment or whatever like that for someone to be able to carry them. So it's like, I think, well, at least at the time, obviously, you know, the boss mechanic stuff is a little bit different now. But then, that's they had it then, and they just removed it for that reason. It just became the norm. So I think I'm assuming mine cage worked in that same sense for them, where it's like it just becomes a norm. But kind of like how you said, like if it was such a drastic difference, like a huge difference, you know, popping the mine cage versus not popping the mine cage, to where it's not okay, I use it all the time, 100% of the time, sort of thing, then that definitely could work out. I wouldn't know how to implement it like correctly, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, it's like a balance thing, but I feel like they've done a good job with like currently at the beginning of season. I think it's a good balance of like, I do tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 bosses for a while because before I'm strong enough to do tier 4 bosses. Even though it's like less efficient, I don't get as much loot, but it's still like something I engaging, and then it's going back to the progression. There's a journey to get there, so I think there could be a balance. In my dream world, I would, if I could flick a magic wand and design whatever I could get, I would love to be able to make Infernal Hordes a bit harder, even if it's like for a slight improvement. But in the beginning of a season, I'll be playing without the Mind Cage because I'm simply not strong enough yet.
But I think that's also the problem in a lot of these discussions, right? In general, right? We're talking about the getting to the point where you have everything in the game. Like people just want to complete their characters, so like they want to get glyphs to level 100 and that sort of stuff, right? But it's like, what are you playing for? Like, why are you getting stronger, right? For most games, that you have like a finite thing that you're trying to get strong towards, or like to speed run, or like whatever, right? Like a leaderboard or anything. But in this game right now, we don't at all. And I think like the concept of like getting stronger means more rewards needs to be a thing in ARPGs. Like, at least personally, I believe that, for it to feel worthwhile at the end. And I don't think I've ever personally felt that like, oh, because my one trick pony build can't do the top end thing, I'm just not gonna play this season. I've been the kind of person that like, I like rogue, so I will play whatever rogue is, flavor for that month, like for that season, right? And then go back to playing my own the build I have fun with when I get strong enough for it, right? But it feels like the argument is every build needs to be able to do everything in every context to the end, so that there is no difference in general power and reward from playing whatever build you want in the game. And I feel like I don't think we're gonna get anywhere with that. I don't think we should strive for that balance either, because I don't think it's possible with this many moving parts.
Yeah.
So like me personally, I would like to see that we do get optional content that is either aspirational or something that we can farm towards to get stronger to do it. Whether that be Infernal Horde 26 waves with giga juiced waves every single time, or if that is mind cages.
I'm down.
Or if it's mind cages, or if it's like giga juiced Undercity with like Omega reward at super short time, whatever that looks like, I think we just need something.
Like I said,
3 world bosses at once.
Man, season 5 was probably like one of my favorite seasons of all time. Not because we had like any cool mechanics or whatever, but more so the fact that Infernal Hordes for most builds, outside of like maybe a couple that just invalidated Infernal Hordes, but I say like 90-something% of the builds, it was actually quite hard to do T8 Infernal Hordes, or at least do it like efficiently or do it well. And so what I liked about that is that people actually talked about that as a different metric. In fact, Pit was actually, at least from what I've seen, was actually less talked about that season in terms of like a metric, and more people were concerned about, hey, cool build, can this do T8 Infernal Hordes? Like that was the metric at the time, and then you're just like yes or no. It's like, okay, cool, I'll play that build, right? And that was the only season that we had where that was, where we had multiple different metrics, and so people that may not like Pit, but want a challenge can still do hordes, T8 hordes, and that was the thing. Where if you don't like hordes, you could do Pit, right? And so you kind of had choices in terms of how you want to progress your character to be strong enough to do said content. It wasn't just Pit, and so for me, that was cool. And I think I played a lot of season 5 because of that, because I was trying to do different builds and stuff like that, different things to find more efficient ways to do TA on Rogue that wasn't, you know, just the main stuff. And that, to me, that was fun. And, you know, we haven't had anything like that, you know, past that point when, and, you know, they took away the tiers for Infernal Horrors like that, at least in that sense. It just became another horizontal content that you did, right? And then all we have was Pit again. And I was sad.
Yeah.
And have been sad since then. But yeah, that was fun. To me, that was fun because again, different metric, whole different play style than how you would approach Pit. So like, it made sense to have multiple metrics. But anyways, yeah.
Philip says the issue with adding stuff like this is that the casual player sees it, trying to engage with the content, get destroyed, feels deflated, and stop. That's a concern with optional challenge unless you make it very inaccessible, if that makes sense. And I can see that being a problem, but I also see the flip side being a problem, where if the game has too few challenges, then it will not be engaging by the people promoting the game, you know, like people playing the game or whatever, because people just get bored after like a day, right? And that will trickle down to the people that would be playing it as well, even if it's at a slower pace. They might not be able to get to the end challenge, but the fact that it's there, like, should add enough of a grind motivator, I suppose, to try and get there, even if they don't get there in the end.
Well, and then you also have things like, again, Season 5 Infernal Horrors, where you had different tiers of Infernal Horrors, but there was strong enough tiers at the top end that you did not have to do. Like, you didn't, you know, you did not need to do T7 or T8 or whatever. You can stick in T6 and be fine, you know, for whatever it is that you want to do. Like, so you can have aspirational content without locking out the casuals per se, but if there's only one difficulty, and that one difficulty is just, well, hard, then yeah, that makes sense. Like kind of what Philip and actually what Peaches said, you know. But if you kind of make it different tiers where you feel like there's a progression sense in that aspirational content, where then at that point, people can technically feel like the higher tiers are mandatory, but like there's nothing you can do about that at that point, right? You know, like you can't go to like I don't know, like a Souls-like game, right? And then, you know, it's like, well, if I don't play on the hardest difficulty, then, you know, no one's gonna think I'm good or whatever like that. Like, no, like, you know, there's different tiers of difficulties at that point in time, and if you choose not to go on like brutal or whatever like that, you know, so be it, right?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, but I feel like as long as there's progression in the aspirational content, then, you know, or tiers of difficulty where you can feel yourself getting stronger and not just, you know, blast one tier or blast one thing, then I think that's okay.
I think the problem,
it has to have some sort of longevity. Like some sort of longevity has to exist in some manner, and some people just will not put in the time to do it, and you can't not do that just because of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean,
some people are going to be time strapped, and that's just kind of.
To me, it doesn't like the you know, aspirational content shouldn't be something that you have to do for like player power, right? Like it should be aspirational. It should like you should have other reasons to do it. I think like a good example of this is like challenge modes in World of Warcraft, right? Where you were doing dungeons on time, and if you got it on like, if you did it super fast, you got like a cool transmog at the end, you know, like for completing all of them, sort of thing, right? That's like an aspirational challenge that like everyone can grind towards, and like sure, if you don't get it, it's gonna feel bad, but like you can get there. It's tuned to the point where it is a challenge, but you can get there. And then on top of that, for the people that really want to go fast, they added the realm best times, where the people that had the fastest time on the server got like a big, you know, cool title at the end of it. Like that sort of stuff fits both criteria in the sense that like it's accessible for people because they can grind and try to do it.
Well, don't add titles because, you know, people will pay for that. AKA Lilith.
Yeah, but I also felt like, I don't know. Me personally, I felt like Lilith in Season 0 was fine as a pinnacle content. Like, basically, like, I was gearing to get there, right? And be able to do that. And kudos to anyone that did that shit on hardcore, because I've done that once now when we're giga strong, I guess, you know, in the event. And, I mean, I was clinching the whole time. But, like... that sort of aspirational content where it's like, oh, you're trying to gear to get this boss down, you know, whatever. Even if it is just to kill that one boss, and that boss is giga tuned on like a super juiced version of it that has nothing but like some cosmetic or like fuck it, even just like a pat on the head or a leaderboard or whatever, right? Having something like that to fight for is enough for like a lot of people to just play for a week and then be kind of done. But right now, it's like, what do you play for? Do you play for the unofficial leaderboard to compete with, you know, the 5 other people that find the unofficial leaderboard interesting?
Yeah, on the topic of, was his name Philip or someone in the chat mentioned like the kind of like a FOMO experience of like if there is optional content, like I want to feel like I can do it. Like I feel like I could speak to that as a, because I'm, in terms of PoE 2, I feel like I'm a casual. I've played like 200 hours, but I've never done any of the endgame bosses. I know there's like a bunch of them. And there are items, like I hear people talk about like mirrors, like these endgame things. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Like I don't watch guides or anything. I'm just like a casual running through the game, and I love PoE 2 for that. I've had really like a lot of fun in that game. But there's so much optional things that I'm like, okay, like I'm not gonna invest the amount of time and effort that's required to do all these difficult things and difficult bosses. And I've kind of just accepted that, and I don't feel FOMO for it. And I'm happy it's in the game for the people that want to live and die by this game and have it as their like main video game. Like it's awesome that there is optional content for them to chase, but I don't feel like it's a negative thing for the game. And that's kind of my point towards mind cages or whatever. It could be all sorts of optional content that it shouldn't. I don't know where the feeling of FOMO comes from. If it's not like necessary, like for example now we can get all the items in the whole game in T1, like that kind of concept where you're not actually missing out. It's more like a psychological thing at that point. So that's my thoughts on that. Is like it shouldn't. It's more like a personal mindset, I guess.
And I think getting away from that is going to be like kind of like difficult as well, right? Because there was the using World of Warcraft again as an example, like the PvP sets, right? Where if you had over 2,200 rating, you got like a PvP set tied to that particular season, right? And people that couldn't get that was, you know, incentivized to get boosted or whatever, you know, whatever to get that, right? Because they really wanted that set. And I'm like, we're never gonna have anything nice in this game if FOMO is gonna be the thing that puts a stop to it, right? There needs to be some incentive to like actually play the season. It needs to be some sort of like, if you can't play and you aren't this tall to ride, then you're not gonna get the reward. Like you're not gonna experience the thing. And if everything is accessible by everyone in terms of whether it be end game, you know, fights or like rewards for doing something really difficult or anything like that, right? Then we're always gonna have a very loop-sided game. We're either gonna have it be very like way too difficult in every regard, or it's gonna be way too easy in every regard, which is basically where we're at right now.
Pretty much.
But that was
for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. So something quite a bit different. So what are your favorite builds to play on Rogue and why?
Ava?
For me, it's Dance of Knives. Like, I like the feeling of I can just move around the screen, deal damage to everything around. It's like the very like ARPG experience kind of thing, right? Where it just kills inside the screen while I'm moving. Now, I'm not fast. I wish we would have had like, you know, 300% movement speed or something like that, right? To like make it even sillier. But like, that's grindy sort of thing where you grind and grind and grind and you get to the point where you can just hold down one button, move around the screen and kill everything, like, and just farm. I mean, I kind of like that. And it also feels, when you get to the point, it feels pretty good, right? It's strong enough to do all content in the game. Apart from that, I don't know. I like the janky shit. I like Dash Rogue because it is janky and it's, you know, you have to try and jump through every single hoop in the world to try and get it to farm shit comfortably, you know, but I don't know. Stuff that is low APM, just kind of chilling, you know, that sort of stuff. That's my vibe.
Payphone.
Payphone. Literally
Nice.
payphone.
I think I'm actually a fan of imbuement builds. Like specifically cold imbuement. Usually, it's just like the kind of rotations on a timer. Like, okay, I'm getting low. It's like you watch your imbuement charges kind of go down 5, 4, 3, and then you click the button, and then it's like a rhythm to the gameplay. And I really like when that's the case, and I really like high APM as well. In contrast to you, Ava, like so. I when like Dark Shroud on the bar, I don't mind at all. Like more buttons to click, my fingers pressing all the skills all the time. Like that's usually when I thrive. I'd say I think that's why I initially gravitated towards Rogue. But yeah, imbuement builds usually tend to give me that fix. Like whether it's Poison TB or Rapid Fire with Cold Imbuement, those sort of builds are a lot of fun. But it's also nice. It's like that's the beautiful thing about now we have the armory as well. Like to be able to have the like without the contrast of other builds, I would get tired of the imbuement builds too. But after playing like Death Trap or Spam Flurry or Spam Pen Shot, it's like, oh, it's nice to go to a build that has a little bit more complexity. So I like a variety there to keep it fresh. But if I had to rank one, it would be anything that involves imbuement. What about you, Dai?
Okay. So I'm a range connoisseur. Like anything that I can play or do that allows me to skillfully not get hit. Because I don't like getting touched. I don't like taking damage, which is the reason why I can never play a barb. I can't play like because like or some of the other classes where you're literally in melee range and you don't really have the tools to not get touched. You're supposed to get touched, right? So
if I meet you, make sure I don't touch you.
Yeah. So like I don't know, it just I like the I think I like when I first started playing action RPGs, that's kind of how that's been my mindset when I started playing D3 was just literally what can I do to never take damage. And I remember in D3 Vanilla, there was no unavoidable damage except for Reflect. But then you just got like a lifesteal bow and you were fine. But you can literally outskill everything in that game. Like all the elite fixes, you can outskill all of the the mob interactions. You can even outskill the phase beast teleporting, hitting you, stuff like that. There were ways to avoid that. So like I studied all that and found a way to literally just not get hit by anything. And I enjoyed that type of play style in a sense where I build ultra glassy. I don't know what HP is, what hit points are, or health, or I don't even know why you guys even use that stat or whatever. But yeah, so I rather just what can I do to not get hit, and then squeak out a little bit more damage at the same time. So I favor range builds because of that. And so I end up playing Rain of Arrows more than the other builds, I guess you could say, in the semi-recent, just because it's like really the only true range build we kind of have currently. I used to play a lot of rapid fire towards the beginning, D4, pin shot, and then also some rapid fire. Back when we could technically kind of play range with those abilities, not so much now, but we could then. But now it really is just kind of Rain of Arrows, whereas like if you're in melee range, you lose so much damage. So it's like there's incentive. Okay, I need to stay back and play this, sort of build like that. And now also to Matthias' point, complexity. I like also pushing buttons. I like combo points. I like rotations. I like being rewarded for doing things with my character. I feel like that's kind of like missing a little bit on the class at the moment, where it's just like, you know, doing more isn't necessarily rewarded as, you know, as much. And I think that was kind of maybe my kind of gripe with DT. And I'm not a DT hater by any means. I did play a little, like a teeny bit of DT when Matthias gave me like a bunch of like hand-me-down gears for like mid-season, and I was like, "Hey, do you have any DT gear real quick that I could that I can use just to say that I can, like, you know, I can just to say that I played the build." But it's just like it just did everything so well and so efficient that I felt like I wasn't challenged. I
You
wasn't.
didn't earn it.
That there was no danger. Like I was literally Darth Vader, right? Which
Oh,
again, the
that's
concept is
so
cool,
interesting.
and yeah, you're Darth Vader. You're literally Darth Vader. Like, and you know, when you play DT, and nothing can touch you, and you were immortal, literally like Darth Vader. So it's like it to me, I couldn't play it long enough or for a long time because I didn't feel like there was any sort of like push pull in a sense of, oh, I could die, or if I didn't do this thing I would do a lot less damage or whatnot. It was kind of like the mobs never stood a chance. Like
That's
the game
so
didn't stand
interesting.
a chance whenever I played DT, right? So like I just couldn't play it for long. Like, don't get me wrong, I totally understood why people loved it. Like I you know, it putting the you know, the build together, all the pieces and stuff like that, making sure all of the puzzles pieces and fits and works was a great time. Like that was great. You know, and I understood why people liked it, but for me it was just like I gotta feel some sort of resistance. And so like I guess when I play even the basic builds, you know, which you know are a bit more simpler in the rotation spots like that, but I still got to kind of stay range if I want to make victimized Heartseeker work well. So there's an incentive for me to be like, okay, I'm getting jumped. Let me reposition better, reposition well, so this is still can be competitive to, like, let's say like close quarters combat or whatever. So I typically like the builds where I have to kind of put more thought and more effort into playing it well for it to be rewarded. But like Matthias was kind of saying too, is I don't really feel like we have that reward. You know, you do this well in the sense that it makes sense and you're rewarded for doing that well. And that's kind of what combo points used to be, right? And I know people hated that towards the beginning, where it's like, oh, well, combo points is too strong. Combo points was like the way to play. And that's true. But it also took a little bit more effort to do than some of the other specializations, which is why combo points was kind of more in the forefront. Not saying they shouldn't balance it, but I guess that's kind of why I gravitated to combo points too as well. Kind of a long answer, but yeah, basic attack builds, Heartseeker for sure, Random Veils because it's a true range build. And I will play things like Flurry every now and then because you can kind of like weave in and out. So I can play up close and also try not to get hit too, which, you know, is also kind of fun.
I find this so interesting because, like, when I compare how I play when I play DT, often in, you know, in actual pit pushing context, right? Because in any other context, I don't think we have to think for anything, right? We're just kind of like looking at shit and it dies. But like, I think I play the most actively and the most intelligently, I suppose. Like, where I actually think about the game a lot more when I play DT compared to when I play stuff like Twisting Blades. Because in Twisting Blades, I feel like I'm a turret that can't move, and if the enemies aren't moving with me, then fuck it, I'll just kill them where they're standing right now because I can't do much about it. Whereas with DT, I'm like, okay, I can dip up there, grab that enemy, then dip down, and I can chain pull them to the next pack, and then, oh, this one is about to go unstoppable, so I'll drag that one, you know, and do like a kind of a grouping puzzle with all of the enemies, and like, oh, now there are CCs, I can dash out, so I can get Dead Eye and utilize that passive. Like, I feel so like the Death Trap playstyle is way more active than Twisting Blades. Like, way, way, way more active. But like, maybe like, what's your, you know, Matthias, you've played both as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. DT is a lot of fun for those. It brings like a different thing to that no other build brings in terms of that, like navigating the battlefield. I've spoken to that before. Like the pulling is a fun thing, so I definitely agree with that, and that's why I've played quite a lot of DT since like season 6. Every season I've played a lot of DT, so I definitely love that build. It's just, yeah, I'd say it's maybe it's too strong or something. I don't know why. It's just, or maybe I played it too much, where I wouldn't list it as a highest. But yeah, I agree that it is. Like anyone who hasn't played DT, I'm like, if they're going in the Rogue chat, it's like, oh, it's my first time playing Rogue. What should I play? I'm like, if you haven't played DT at least once, like try it. Definitely recommend it.
Very true. I think the thing is the fact that you're for at least when DT was the build, let's say like 2 seasons ago, right? When people were like putting it together, theorycrafting, etc. Like your defense is solved because you can't die. So like now you can put all your energy and efforts into trying to make whatever you can offensively work. Like kind of like I remember when you what was it? It was in one of your videos, Matthias, where you literally just like pulled the DR mobs away like off the screen as you were moving forward, and like that was like really really cool to watch, right? It was just like, okay, that was cool, like that was cool. So you can do little things like that, but like since your defense is solved, it makes it considerably, at least in my opinion, easier to focus on the offensive side of things because they literally can't kill you. So
is that the case now though?
Back then, yeah, you were immortal, right? I mean, people called it immortal DT for a reason. So you could,
season
like,
8,
if you died, that was because you maybe left your computer on like overnight while you went to sleep for like 10 hours, and then you kind of woke up and it was like, oh, he killed me. Okay, cool. But like I'll put it this way: relative to the other rogue builds at the time, like it was so much tankier.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you got rewarded. Damage wise for being tanky because of the way that the overpower works and stuff like that. So like that was solved. So I guess what I'm saying for me is that like when I felt like I couldn't die, then like half of the battle's already done for me in a sense. Like I like to be able to try to figure out how to do offense without getting one-shotted or without like while being in danger in a sense. How do I solve my defense and my offense in battle while it's happening at the same time? If half is already done for me, then for me, I'm kind of less interested at that point because it's like, okay, well, I'm not in danger. All I gotta do is just make sure that I solve the offensive properties of it, and then I'm done, right? And I know like I'm like literally like the 1% of the 1% that might think that way, right? But that's kind of why I like playing, really glassy builds, is because it's like, okay, well, if I positioned wrong, or if I got hit by this thing because I chose to being in the wrong spot, or I didn't daze or throw a smoke grenade in time for it, then I'm punished for it. I'm not punished at all at any point whenever I threw on DT. Yeah. My punishment was more so did I gear myself correctly in terms of making sure I had the right cooldown to be able to spam like that. If I didn't have all the things I needed, then that would be my punishment. But once I got it, there's no consequences for any action I took.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I definitely just understand where you're coming from when it was a overpower season, right? We haven't had that for the entirety of season 9, obviously, after the overpower changes, and even on CS10
I didn't play DT this current season, so yeah, I wouldn't.
Because I'm like, I mean, it's tanky, but like, holy, if I stand in the wrong shit, I just go flop. Like, you still only have, like, I would probably argue that you have more healing, kinda, because you spam your full barrier 24/7, but it's not that much tankier than the likes of, like, Twisting Blades, for example. Not that much more.
Did we, did we cover everything season 10 related?
I don't think so. I don't think we would. I've talked about tier list sort of thing, like talking about the builds comparatively anyway, because that's something that I kind of wanna dip into as well.
Okay, sorry.
Should we dive down that rabbit hole?
Sure. So we've seen, the good old normal builds be able to to still play, even though Blizzard tried to delete Death Trap. It's still there. Still does what it's supposed to.
But even better, because they doubled the full range.
Yep, and now it feels good to play again. So thank you, Blizzard. But we have a lot of like kinda new archetypes archetypes that have seen some sort of significant change. So I think it's kind of like let's go from the bottom and like up, I guess. What do you guys think is gonna be the weakest archetype that we have seen, but didn't get any love whatsoever?
Do you have any examples?
Like, I mean, unironically, Dance of Knives is probably down there. And I'm not saying it from like
stun grenades.
Stun grenades. I don't. Anything that's been archived for a decade, I guess, shouldn't be there. But you know, but no.
He just says barrage.
Barrage. Okay, barrage could.
Yeah.
Wind force is creeping up to 100% to deal triple damage. Eventually.
Eventually, we'll be doing damage. So I feel like basically anything that is relatively niche, so like Dance of Knives or whatever, and that also depends on clone, is, I mean, that is a disparage moment right now. I don't think those builds got literally anything in this patch. And they lost like a bunch of conditional multipliers and like pretty solid multipliers from the seasonal powers from last season. So I would expect something. Go on.
When you say clone though, because I mean the basic type builds definitely rely on clone still, like heavily. It's just that the clone actually, you know, plays pretty well with the basic build, so it doesn't feel nearly as bad as, let's say, Rapid Fire with clone or Barrage with clone, right? But yeah, I mean, I would say that, I mean, the basic builds got a maybe 5 or 6 tier bump up from their current season. Mainly because, I mean, you can pretty much triple slot gloves, right? You got Pangorger's Fist of Fate and Grasp of Shadows, right? That you can do for Chaos Uniques, and like that totally does help the basic builds out. They don't really play any different per se than they used to, but it's just, you know, being able to slot basic build stuff that you normally couldn't do because you only had one glove slot before, right? So you have to choose one glove. Now you get to have all 3 in different slots, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. Well, a little more power. But in terms of anything outside the Orphan Maker, I mean, Barrage, Rapid Fire, Pen Shot are all kind of oof.
I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say Dance of Knives is not breaking 80. I don't think in its current form. I think it's like unironically
dealing damage with it.
Yeah, like because you can do Dance of Knives PT or Dance of Knives Ashtoreth, where you're not dealing damage with Dance of Knives at all. But if you're trying to like actually scale Dance of Knives as a legitimate skill, you are not getting past 80. Because last season, it was really down bad. I think I did like 85 with it. And we lost the ability to remove the DR enemies, which is basically the only reason why Dance of Knives could deal damage that, you know, last season. Because you don't have any choice in targeting and you can't pierce. So you only hit basically what's right in front of you all the time. So if the little champion guy is hiding behind anything, then you're never killing a pack. Ever. Unless you're overkilling the content for some reason. And you also lost the execute, unless you're going Grasp of Shadows, which you now would, but you would have to hit it for that reason. There's a bunch of like random stuff that makes Dance of Knives as the damage dealing source incredibly weak this season.
Is it kind of like a nice, in terms of like having variety and builds performance, like the fastest build that moves quickly and is good for leveling, like that it's not good in endgame, like so it's not like DT is good in every scenario for speeding, tanky, bossing, like it's too good in every bucket. Like it's kind of nice, I think, to like something. What do you think about that? Like maybe Dance of Knives shouldn't push past 80 because it's generally just fast and good earlier.
I don't think it's good enough early to warrant this level of being behind. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like, if you don't get star shards while leveling, you're unironically not much faster than any other build. Like you can still basically play just as efficiently or close to anyway.
Yeah.
And even when you get star
I
shards,
think like
go on.
sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Like even if you get star shards, like you are gonna kill stuff faster, but like the time of the season where you are more effective than the other builds is so short that it feels criminal to basically kill the archetype for the rest of the game. But I do agree that I don't think that the builds that are the fastest, most efficient, screen wide clearing all the enemies that you can see before they even appear on the screen, they shouldn't also be the strongest builds, because then you get the loop-sided balance we have a DT right now. So I do agree, but not to the power of like 30 pit tiers.
No, that's fair.
I do think at the same time though, like regardless, and I agree. I agree with that, given the fact that Dancing Knives is the only build that you can, deal damage and move at the same time. I think they're going to be very cautious about it, because like the moment that becomes the strongest build, or almost the strongest build, then like is there a reason to ever play anything else? Because you can move and shoot at the same time. So it's something that the characteristics that other builds can't do. At the same time, though, you still want to feel like you can make progression with your glyphs, right? With any build, and you cannot do that with a pure Dance of Knives build. Like that feels hard. Like you're never gonna really be able to finish leveling your glyphs if you choose to play Dance of Knives, like as a damage dealer, right? Not as a procer, but as a damage dealer, and like that should never be the case, right? You should never be like, oh yeah, you'll never finish your glyph leveling at all if you play Dance of Knives. Like that's not cool.
Technically, you would if you do like 1,000 pit runs. You will get your glyphs leveled with a 2% chance, whatever it is. But yeah, I do agree. Do we think that there are any other builds that are kind of that down bad as Dance of Knives is right now? Like basically pit 80 territory?
Doesn't seem like it. Like everything I've played has been 90 or 85 plus. Like Grenades, I think, was stuck at 85. But other than that, everything's been 90 plus.
Yeah, same.
So
I've been surprised by how many 100 plus builds there are.
True. I guess we can touch on like grenades real quick. And then Agora said rapid fire, and I think we should talk about rapid fire for a little bit after that. But do you guys, because I think like I think grenades is an interesting topic as it is, because sub skills overall could be something that people would want to play, and this is not like rogue centric, but like for all classes, whatever sub skill that emerges should be probably interesting to play. But is 85 high enough for a sub skill, and does it even feel good to play grenades right now, Matthias?
I mean, I thought grenade. Okay, so there's two variants for grenade. There's the chaotic burst season 10 only build that is kind of based around grenades because each grenade summons a burst, and that I had a lot of fun with because it's actually like a smoke grenade spam build. So it just felt so different. I'm like, what am I actually doing? Throwing grenades and trying to become stealth as often as possible. So like the uniqueness of that I enjoyed, but actual raw grenade it's like any other build that just kind of spams one button and spawns grenades. Like I was TB spamming grenades. It didn't feel that great, especially since it was so weak also. But chaotic bursts, honestly, it was pretty fun. I had like infinite cooldowns, and it looked like, I don't know, the effect of chaotic bursts are really cool. Like the blue glow on the ground. Like I really, really love the way whatever developer designed the chaotic bursts, they did good.
It does look cool, not gonna lie.
Yeah. The classic, I hope the boss doesn't have any dangerous abilities because I want to see the floor ability,
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, grenades is not worth it. Would not recommend. Stay away.
All right. So I guess rapid fire, Dioxide, since you're our resident rapid fire expert, why is the community perception that it's down bad, and why have we seen 102?
So I went back as you guys when I saw rapid fire in the chat. I'm now in Kyover chat on the training dummy to see if they actually fixed any of the bugs. associated with rapid fire that I reported. For those who don't know what the bugs were, basically, well, there were quite a few of them really. One, if rapid fire hit on the way up, it would not deal damage. Like it would not deal as AoE damage with Scoundrel's Kiss when it hit the ground. So like you will hit the single target, and then that's it. And then that damage did not get the Scoundrel's Kiss unique buff. So you'll be hitting the dummy on the way up without the unique effects of Scoundrel's Kiss in general. And then the ground effect wouldn't hit anything at all. This happened with you, and it also happened with your clone. And then your clone, obviously, for whatever reason, likes to, shoot literally in the face of the mob, which exaggerated the bug even more because it meant that your clone was more likely than not to hit this bug, causing you to like lose a shit ton of damage, basically. So that has been a bug for a couple of seasons now, and has allowed for or has basically hurt rapid fire from being able to do anything important because, of course, those are pretty big hits to the skill. Now, there has not been any patch notes to suggest that anything has changed since then, since me reporting it like 2 seasons ago. However, it's looking like right now, while I'm in the training dummy, that they actually did fix the shotgunning of the arrows going up for the most part. So now it looks like so now it looks like it goes through and doesn't do any damage, but the impact now hits, even if you're up close. So that's actually a really big, important fix that they did do, but they didn't note that in the patch notes. With that being said,
changes.
that also probably, so that with that being said, that also probably explains why, too, that like we did see the 102 and it was doing fine. Because I was actually watching the video and I was looking at that. I was like, wait a minute, he's real close, and the impact is still hitting, whereas that wasn't the case before. And I'm like, okay, maybe something got fixed somewhere. But yeah, so for a while, people just didn't know that rapid fire was bugged with the Scoundrel's Kiss ring, and so going from season 6 to season 7, especially, and then from 7 to 8 and 8 to 9, we just felt like it got worse. Our damage numbers were definitely lower. We didn't really know why. It was harder to clear, those kind of things, and people just dropped rapid fire just in general. There's one person that did like an OP rapid fire thing. I think Lexi Lou did it too, way back in season 6 too as well. So that's probably a variation of that too. But it didn't really break bounds enough for people to be like, oh, I'm gonna play that for like pit pushing, because you couldn't do anything else. You couldn't do. You can't play that in any other content. So like people were just like, nah, at the end of the day. But yeah, this whole Orphan Maker build sort of thing with rapid fire is honestly just quite awful to play. I still remember when Lexi did it, an OP version of this, and he recorded him playing it in the pit. And in his description, he says, "Do not play. Do not build this build. Do not play." Like in all caps. Yeah, there he is. There he is, Lexi, right there.
Hey, Lexi.
He literally said, "Do not play this build. I'm just doing it for fun, just to be doing it." But people are like, "Hey, you got a planner?" He's like, "No, don't play this build. Do not."
I played it so you don't have to.
Build. Yes, and whatnot. But like, so like that's kind of like it's like that. It's in the sense where it's just not. It's not fun, and it's not. You can't even do that for like glyph. I mean, I guess you can do it for glyph leveling, but it's horrible experience, man. It's like terrible. It's not a complex. It's not like a complex rotation that makes sense or is fun. It'd be different as it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm pushing on the right buttons and I'm rewarded for it. It's a lot of jank that doesn't necessarily make sense, and it's awful to play.
I haven't played it yet, but like I made a planner for the new rapid fire with overpower. Like the rotation looks difficult like I haven't played it yet, so maybe like obviously it's gonna be clunky, but it's like the fact that before every rapid fire shot you have to drink 2 potions to activate the sand rune to overpower. Like that's amazing to me in terms of like conceptually. Like it's like gonna be like don't do this, like don't try this at home. But like the fact that that's a thing is like super cool to me.
It's more of a don't try this at home, at your neighbor's house, at your friend's place. Like don't try this ever at any in any circumstance.
Yeah.
But like I do feel like those builds where you have to basically play a piano backwards under the water while blindfolded. Like that's rough at the best of times. Even worse when we don't have indicators or anything.
That's another thing too as well. Having to guess.
Like which reload
reload. Yeah, that's awful. I think I think the whole concept of the orphan maker in general, this whole hit and run thing, I don't really mind the concept of it, but like we don't have the tools to properly be able to like follow, the mechanics. So like if you can't follow the mechanics, then like why the mechanics there in the first place? I feel like that about precision too. Like precision is a lot the same way. We can't really follow it, for some builds, and so you can't really play around it. You can't be skillful around it because you literally don't know. You simply just don't know where you are with it. But I do think that rapid fire in general, and like I could be, definitely minority with this, but I really don't think it really has great synergy with the orphan maker, at least by design, because the whole point is to kind of like reload, or hit and then move. Yeah, it's like cast touch grass is like what I called it, right? So cast touch grass sort of thing, where you're moving. And rapid fire is like the opposite of that. Like you're stuck in animation for the most part, right? Because you don't really have all the implicits on the boost to be able to lower your cooldown for evade. So you're stuck in animation, and so the whole hit and run thing just feels very awkward on rapid fire with the orphan maker. So while it can hit pretty hard for sure, and not saying it doesn't, it just feels it's like another clunk on top of the already clunky feeling that you already get. So I have no idea how who this is going to appeal to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All the piano players out there are gonna be ecstatic.
Like I said, I mean, I consider myself a piano player too, but I mean, I don't know.
You're a musician, so.
Fair.
I have a potential question if we write down. Like what builds do we recommend to people? Like what if someone came in your chat and it's like, oh, like I'm thinking of hopping on to Rogue season 10, like what build should I play? And obviously there's like the go-to, like the best build, like DT or whatever it might be, like the consensus objectively strong build, but what would be your kind of like maybe not like kind of like off meta or like a sleeper build that might like people might not be thinking about or it's not talked about, that is like a build that you would recommend to people? I'm curious what how you guys would answer that.
I have a very easy answer to that question.
Yeah.
For me, it's Shadow Step.
Does it start with a D?
Shadow Step. Yeah. Like, if you want to play something that it's pretty easy to gear, it's not that difficult. Like overall, it has a few breakpoints and that sort of shit, right? But it's like it feels very unique in the rogue sort of atmosphere, and all you do is hold down Shadow Step until enemies die. If you want to play like the super easy like Giga meta build, obviously DT, right? Like even though it is annoying to gear for, it's still gonna give you the most bang for the buck sort of thing. But I don't know, every single time Death Trap is strong, and I'm like, I keep going back to Shadow Step every single season. I don't know why.
What's the pit clear? Like, what's the strength of Shadow Step in season 10?
Season 10, I done a 95 with it. Okay. And it was like a 95 in, I don't know, it was like 10 minutes or something, if I recall correctly.
You're using like Assassin's Stride, these unique boots that don't really see use otherwise.
Yeah, it's basically an Azure Wrath build with Assassin's Stride, so you are perma imbued, and you just go hard. I like
Cool.
the archetype in general. I think it's kind of fun, and I do like the problem solving aspect of like, oh, I need this amount of cooldown reduction, but I also want to do this at the same time. And there are solutions for these problems that aren't like completely like monkas. Whereas, you know, for example, Dance of Knives doesn't have the solutions the same way Shadow Step has the solutions. So I don't know. I feel like it's a very rewarding build overall. But if we're not talking just DT, then yeah, that would be my next go-to.
What's your sales pitch, Dai? Which build, which build, and what do you have to say?
So I think that I would say Reign of Arrows.
Really?
The mystery.
So okay, so normally, so if it wasn't for the new victimized change, I would be against it, right? But I think playing it this season a lot, it's a lot easier to follow because you're not having to worry about precision. You're not, and then not only that, but like running with the regular bow or crossbow or whatnot, and then throwing, I'm gonna say, apologetic for aspect on the two hand like that, like gave it quite a bit of quality of life that it didn't have before when you was playing it, especially when it comes to like speed farming. Because before, remember you were using your Sky Hunter and things like that, and then you have two waves, and so your damage is split up between two waves. Whereas this current season, you only have one wave, right? But that wave is massive. Like that wave does massive damage. So you're waiting half the time to do your damage, which is a huge quality of life when you're speed farming. And then of course you're also hitting everything, and then you're not having to follow a precision buff. So you basically can just do a 1-to-1 spam without pretty much any worries at all on whether or not you're going to deal damage. And then of course you can dash between every ring, similar-ish to how you could with DT. So your movement was actually really, really good. And also the power level of Random Arrows was comparable to DT this season. Just that, Rain kind of gets, this bad rep of being like overly complicated, fairly obviously, overly complicated. Can't follow my buffs. Sometimes I deal damage, sometimes I don't deal damage. So like, I think some of the quality of lives that occurred this season and also going forward has made Rain of Rails considerably more player friendly to play, while being able to like massacre the entire screen with arrows. And it's with quite a few of the chaos uniques this season, like that's coming up, really benefits Rain of Arrows quite a bit. Like having Word of Hakan literally on any piece, well, it should be on the right piece, but like just having it period on an armor slot and being able to have a regular amulet is huge. Like it's ginormous for Rain of Arrows, right?
I mean, so, honestly, one good thing on top of just being able to have an amulet on the pants, but like actually includes the inherent 30% all resistance.
Yeah,
is insane to me.
It's like Banished Talisman for DT. Like it's just you just get so much risk.
Yeah, it's just so. I think if players kind of realize that, hey, if I wouldn't recommend the precision version by any means, even though that's probably like 2 tiers stronger, because you can chaos the Sky Hunter or stuff like that. I wouldn't recommend that for the sake of it being complicated for no reason. But like I think the victimized version of it, I think if people gave that a shot, they'll be like, oh, this actually isn't that bad. It's not as crazy, stupid rotation as it once was, and you're always dealing damage, and then you have that one big massive wave, and you feel good about it, right? So which will work really well for Infernal Hordes, because Infernal Hordes is going to be a main content this season. So Rain of Arrows is crazy for Infernal Hordes, and then hit or glyph leveling is also really good too, because you don't have to backtrack. So you just cast your wave, leave, cast your wave, leave, cast your wave, leave, and stuff. So yeah, I think that's a sleeper. I think people who hated Rain of Arrows before in the past, I would almost kind of like, hey, give it a shot with Victimizer this season. Man, it actually feels a lot better than it used to. I'll put it that way. It's still no DT in terms of comfort, but it's you know.
I mean, any build that can spam dash as well is very nice.
True.
Yeah.
Like infinite resets on with preparation.
What is your
second build? Would be Heartseeker, just because you can like pew from the distance and kill everything from the distance.
What's your build then, Matthias?
Yeah.
I'm actually curious now.
Yeah, I'm playing Heartseeker right now, and I think I was gonna sneak in a Heartseeker as well. I especially because so many people want easy to play builds, and Heartseeker is so wonderful for that reason. Like it's like you don't even need to aim. You can look away, and the arrows just like missiles, heat-seeking, finds the target, and the single. I don't think I've out of all the builds I've played, Heartseeker might be the best single target.
It is pretty ridiculous.
Yes, yeah. It's insane.
Perfect. Yeah.
And you have infinite cooldowns. It's gonna be way easier to get a shard of Varathiel in season 10 because you can farm it from the lair bosses now, I think, versus just having to get them in hordes, which is quite difficult in the past. So I'd say Heartseeker is like, it's definitely up there. And other than that, I think Flurry is since the new helm came out, I think a lot of people like maybe haven't tried it yet and maybe felt excited, like, oh, that's a cool Flurry helm that I should try at some point, but it's been like maybe too weak or they haven't been inspired for whatever reason. But I think Flurry now is also in the same bucket of like very beginner friendly in terms of playstyle and gearing. Like there's not from the moment you get to Torment, like a level 60 to the very end, it's a very similar experience in terms of the gameplay. And you're so tanky. Like I don't think, like it's insane with Flurry. You have DR from preparation, DR from Shadow Clone, you have DR from momentum. It's like you have Dark Shroud. Like I feel like I could tank anything with Flurry. So it feels, if I was playing, people are scared of the new helm because it drains your life, but it's like a false fear because you're actually giga tanky. So Flurry and Heartseeker, I agree with those two. If you're not going meta, which is Rain of Arrows and DT.
All right.
That's me.
So
is that a good point to end it, or do we have anything left to cover?
I mean, we had the rest of the tier list, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Like we talked about the bottom part. We talked about basically Dance of Nice being Disparage and Rapid Fire having cleared stuff, but it's kind of whatever. Barrage being kind of weak, but what is our like? I guess those like Grenade and Dance of Knives as the damage dealer is kind of the avoid these please sort of list. What is the?
What if we do like top three top three best
three,
builds and top 3 worst builds?
What do you guys think is like on the very top end that, like, you know, if you want to do pit and do it without, you know, completely losing your mind, which are the top 3 builds for each of you?
You shouldn't have said the last part.
Impossible. Yeah. I mean, Rain of Arrows, I can't go away from Rain of Arrows. It's just, in terms of like on paper, what benefits the most. It's just sad that we haven't been able to test it. So we could be way off base. And
Rain of Drizzles on the PTR.
Exactly. but also sneakily another bug is the basic skills, because they're already so good without the unstable power. I think the perk of the season, like permanent overpower with the basic skills, might be insane too. So we basically don't know, but those would be my guesses.
What about you then, Dave? What do you think? What's up there?
Similar. Rain, DT. Maybe the poison trap thing, if some bugs are fixed. I think basic builds are like probably like right on the cuffs of that too as well. The unstable power thing though, like it's so up in the air because we can't we couldn't test it, right? So like we don't know if there's, you know, any other hidden ICDs, you know, when cooldown actually does work for the power, and if so, like how long are we waiting to shoot, and then will there be any changes to Orphan Maker, and if so, would you include that in the basic build? knowing that you're gonna have a slight cooldown on your basic attack anyways. So like there's a lot of unknowns with that. Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns, but like with the knowns, I do think that DT and Rain will definitely be at the top, at least for what we do know. Yeah, that's really all I got for that. I will say that for those who like the basic builds or like that, like Matthias was saying with Hard Seeker, Invigorating Strike too, same ordeal. I think it'd be pretty happy going into the season, being able to level your glyphs a little bit easier, for sure, because you got a pretty decent power jump from current season to season 10.
And an underrated thing in season start is picking a build that can do bosses easily, and I'd say Heartseeker and basic skill builds do that very well. So it's a good season starter.
They do.
I think my top 3 is basically gonna be the same as yours. If you're just looking at raw power, right? Basically, I mean, we've been discussing this, behind the scenes anyway. So like, we do share the same perspective on it. But I do feel like Dance of Knives is kind of up in there with PT. Like the PT shenanigans. If they fix some bugs around it, or like not bugs, but some minor interactions around it, then it's actually gonna be one of the smoothest farmers that we do have, I think.
Like Bursting Venom, Dance of Knives.
Yeah. I think like it's actually kinda exciting how strong it is. Because I was like, one of the biggest problems I've had with Dance of Knives for the longest time is the fact that it's incredibly clone dependent, it's target dependent, it's kind of oof in that sense. And this variation of Dance of Knives, where you rely on poison traps, is just blowing that out of water. Like it's super strong, has incredible AoE, and it's fine for bossing. Like it's not great for bossing, but it's like not terrible. So I don't know. I'm kind of. I mean, I'm missing like a 50 multi more or less on my damage with my gear, and I cleared a 95 in 7 minutes. So it's definitely not terrible. And I think Agora also mentioned Twisting Blades now. I don't know.
Where do you think that line's
I think in terms of power level, it's not bad, but I wouldn't even put it in my top 3.
Poison TB?
Yeah. I think it's going to be strong, but I would never play it. Like, all of the quality of life is gone. I don't think it's going to be stronger than the other options in pushing, and I think it's probably one of the worst builds for Infernal Hordes.
Yeah. The only benefit it has is that it has Death Trap, so it can actually pull things together, which is very nice in Hordes. But yeah, overall, it's pretty meh.
Yeah, I mean, you can pull things in if you can hit something, but I mean, those goblins, they just ran, man. I could not reset my DT at all.
That's true.
So I don't know. I would probably like echo DT and Rain of Arrows at the top, and then whatever is after that is kind of up in the air. But Dance of Knives PT is definitely going to be one of our best farmers, like basically equal or similar to Death Trap.
Yeah, it's cool. I feel like the fact that there are question marks is nice to me. Like that's like, especially that was like the arguments against having a PTR for D4 because we used to not have it. It's like, oh, then we're like playing the game before everyone else. We're like solving. There's like no mystery with the new season. But I feel like we still have a bit of mystery, especially when there are bugs that allow us to not play Rain of Arrows. But it just the fact that like who will have the highest pit clear and which build will it be is I would not be confident betting on any build right now.
So as a rogue player, like as a rogue enthusiast, what would you rate this season? Let's go Die first and then Matthias.
Well, I mean, I guess it would depend on the changes, right? Going into live, because I'm pretty sure my rating would be different when the live patch comes out. I'd say maybe 7 out of 10. Maybe 7 out of 10, just because I feel like we, relative to the other classes, not necessarily like power wise, but just shakeups, like, things that shake up the way that we play builds didn't really too much happen a lot for us on Rogue. So like we got different ways to feel mostly as strong as we used to, playing mostly the same way that we always have. So like it's like, oh, a bunch of new different toys to kind of like, or I say new toys, but different ways to implement different toys or whatever. And our gameplay mostly is like the same for a lot of things, which is a little disappointing, to be honest with you. I'm not saying it's like that for all stuff on Road, but like when you look at some of the other classes and like what they get to do is it's kind of like that kind of feels a little bad. So outside of just power, because I'm not really caring about that as much, but just the gameplay portion of it feels like, we kind of got the shorter end of the stick on that.
And Dai, when you say 7 out of 10, what would you like? What in contrast to last season or the last 2 seasons? Is that like an upgrade or a downgrade?
Oh, that's an upgrade.
There you go.
That's an upgrade.
There's
a bit of... Yeah. So I would consider this current season like 5 out of 10, maybe 4 or 5 out of 10. Pretty much the same as the previous season. So yeah, 2 points higher, but
I mean, that's good.
I think, and I think the thing is for me, I'm also including just the journey of playing like Rogue and certain Rogue builds. Like I know that I'm going to be playing the basic builds quite a bit, like I always do every season, and I know that journey is going to be fun because the chase is going to be there. I can, when I find chaos uniques, I can kind of mix and match slots until I can get the right ones, the correct ones. The basic builds are going to feel good to play along the way. So like the journey of playing a basic build is the season as Rogue is going to feel hella good, right? So like I got to take that into consideration. Same, when I think about Rain of Arrows, that's more of a, okay, I got to have the right GA with the right chaos uniques in the right spots before I can, effectively play this the way I would like to, so that's a different journey, right? Where I can go, okay, well, let me max out basic build, or a basic build first. And then after I do that, I should have all the pieces I need for Rain of Arrows. Let me jump to that for a little bit, etc. So I feel like the journey in general as a rogue will feel more fun in general, especially with the chaos uniques. But that is kind of build dependent.
Matthias, then.
What was the question again?
What would you rate the upcoming season as a rogue enthusiast?
Yeah, thank you. I was just busy counting the Obdicite. So I've been, before I answer the question, I'm going to provide some interesting data here because I've been running Hordes the entire stream or the entire podcast we've been having here. I've done 7 runs and I have gotten 15 Chaos Armors. So I averaged like 2.2 Chaos Armors per run. And what has surprised me more than that is the Obdicite. Like I'm at the cap, like nine what is it, like 1 million Obdicite. I'm at the cap, so I can't pick it up. So I can see like this run gave me 20,000 Obdicite. There's like 1,600 Ether. 20,000 Obdicite for one. Like, I'm gonna be spamming these hordes. I just have a feeling that masterworking will be less of a problem in season 10 than it has been in the past for me. Like that's usually one of my biggest bottlenecks in this game is like, I really want to try a new build. Like I have an idea, but I'm like, farming for 3 days for Obdicite just to try it. Like, no, I don't want to do that. But I might have like an accidental excess of Obdicite in season 10 that will allow me to enjoy just experimenting and having fun with the build, not being bottlenecked by masterworking. So it kind of ties into answering my question to rate the season, because that is actually a huge part of the game for everyone, but especially for me in terms of friction to play it more is masterworking. And if that's gonna be like maybe solved a little bit, that'll help. Season 10, I think, I mean, I was surprised how much I enjoyed season 9. And with season 10, I think I'm even more hyped because of the Chaos Armor. It's like it feels like season 4 levels of change to me personally. Like there's actually the gear changes. Like usually we have the whipped cream on top of, like the powers are the whipped cream on top of the cake. But like now I feel like that's the analogy they used on the campfire on Discord. I think Blizzard had it, and they mentioned like their goal is to make more changes to the actual filling of the cake, like the layers inside, which is, to me, Chaos Armor is what it does. Like it kind of fundamentally shifts some core pieces versus just being like a 20% damage buff on top. So I would rate the season like I want to say a 9, but yeah, I'd say it's like an 8.9. It's close. Because the fundamental gameplay hasn't changed that much, but it is, the theory crafting is improved. Overall, I think the game's improved. Infernal Hordes is my favorite game mode in the game. That's fun. There's more variety for rogue builds, so I'd say it's definitely in the right direction. So I'm excited, and I would recommend it to anyone who's been away from the game or considering the season.
That's way higher than I thought, to be honest. Like, that's kind of crazy.
I'm an eternal optimist too, so you're always gonna like. I would never rate any season below 8, probably.
What about you, Aiden? Where you stand?
So I think the problem is, I mean, you kind of hit the like nail on the head, die, when you said it's build dependent. I do think that for me, if this chaotic theme should have hit the mark, they should have added basically more slots so that we could do more things with it. Because Rogue is one of those classes that the left side is kinda solved for the most part, right? Like head, chest, gloves, legs, and boots that tend to be kind of sold, or very specific uniques that needs to be there. So for like when I looked at DT, I'm like, oh yay, I can have my pants as well, my boots as my chest, and my chest as my boots. Whoopie doo, like it's not like these big interesting changes in that sense, right? It doesn't enable any new multiplier or like some core tag changes or anything like that, right? So I think from in that regard, it's not rating quite as high for me personally. It would have been interesting to be able to like have the unique effects on weapons, or like swapping it to like ring or something, like adding more slots to create a larger puzzle, especially with us having the strike twice chaos power. I think like we don't have any better options for rogue. Like I'm like, okay, I have strike twice on TB. What am I gonna get instead? I have easier to hit clone, or something. Like we don't really have like a lot of good options. So I think for me, I enjoyed season 9 a lot more than I thought I would as well. So I think it actually rates lower than I did for season 9.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unironically, yeah. Like with the builds I've been covering and the problem solving we were doing for those particular archetypes, but also kind of like the game state overall, it was kind of okay. Because I don't feel like season 10 nothing really changed for me. Like for my builds that I'm covering, the powers are not in depth or like interesting. The only thing that is kind of like very much shifted is the fact that I try to run what's it called? Is it called Siphoning Vitals, whatever it's called, where I get potions for hitting a vulnerable target because of the attack speed steroid from the chaos power. Because otherwise I have like no chaos power that I could use that is like very beneficial. So I don't know. I would probably put it at like maybe a 7, but it's a kind of weak 7. I think like the low hanging fruits that we could have had that would have immediately made it much better didn't happen, and I think that's kind of makes it rough.
Yeah, and maybe it'll be pleasantly surprised like you were in season 9. Who knows? Or it'll be the opposite, where it's way worse than you thought. But
I mean, I think like the problem is my like if you look at my archetypes, right? We have DT and Dance of Knives, right? Both of them are. I mean, DT is. I mean, the Dance of Knives build is kind of new, so that's kind of cool. Like whatever. but both of those two are playing the same way largely, and they feel sort of the same way, and they're good in Infernal Hordes, which play the same. I'm never touching Twisting Blades in Infernal Hordes, and I'm not going to play Shadow Step in Infernal Hordes either, because that's not like what those archetypes are about, right? And I don't know, it didn't really change anything. And I think like if our power level would have been much higher, or if our power level would be much lower, so we had, like kind of had to finesse our way around getting glyphs levels, that would have changed stuff. But I don't know. We'll just have to see, I guess.
No, that's fair.
I am not looking forward to doing if we're doing a max roll like, you know, event again, having literally no HP and trying to survive hardcore. That is gonna be the pain.
Hit and run.
Hit and run. Yep.
Hey, the Orphan Maker might have a place there.
Actually, I'll be playing the rapid fire super build on.
I guess there was a lot of hype surrounding the Orphan Maker. The fact that we have a 2-hand crossbow unique, which took over 2 years to get, after getting 3 bow uniques, right? So kind of to see quite a bit of that hype kind of deflated once people kind of got their hands on it and was playing it for a bit. Also kind of feels bad too. But I guess we'll have to just kind of see what happens with that crossbow. I don't know.
They have a history of buffing things to new items that people don't play.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, I guess the thing, I mean, even just that, just the feel of it, and just having the tools to be able to play the thing that they designed, right? Which I guess is kind of baffling to me. Same thing with like precision, right? Where it's like, was there anybody in the room that ever raised their hand and say, "Hey, so I don't know if I'm reloaded or not." like that seemed to be like for me that would be one of the things that I would initially ask. I'm like, well, how do I know if I'm loaded, or how do I know if I precision stacked? It's like it just becomes very difficult to give feedback on said item or said thing if if players don't even know if they're performing it correctly, because they literally don't have the tools to know, to even make the decision to even play it better, or to anything. Like, you have to bypass it by literally using puncture, like, which is, I mean, cool, I guess, if you want to go that route, but that wasn't the point of or that wasn't part of the point of the unique, right? So like, if you got to do that, then that kind of defeats like part of the purpose of the mechanic to begin with, especially like the first reload versus the second reload. But anyways, I don't know. We'll see where Blizzard goes with that, but it is not a friendly crossbow at all for players.
The thing is, like,
and even as a piano player, I'm just kind of like, oof. I can do it, but it's like, I don't know if I'm really enjoying this.
I really wish that they would have just made the marksman skill temper thing on Orphan Maker double damage instead of strike twice. So at least it would have some extra unique sort of scaling option, right? Because normally everything else has the strike twice affix, right? With rapid fire and barrage and stuff like that. So having access to like double damage and strike twice would have just propelled the core skills, like the ranged core skill archetype, way further than this. Because right now it's the same thing. Like, what do you put on your weapons instead, right?
Right. Exactly.
That's a good suggestion. I mean, it's definitely gonna make it unbelievably strong, but I like it. What should we?
Well, unbelievably strong would be like,
it's like 5 pit
tiers.
Like
5 pit tiers. Yeah, there you go. They even said the same thing. Which should still be below in any of the other classes if people want to compare, right? I mean, we'll still be below. It's like, so like, but I guess I don't know. I guess it would feel bad if you're like a melee or like a cutthroat enthusiast, right? I guess at that point, because then the gap would be even larger.
Yeah, it's funny when one item gives 1400% multiplier or something,
and it's still weaker than other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
that's interesting.
All right. Well, we've been chatting about this for 2 hours.
Whoa, Peaches said, I'd drop Flurry if they do that. What? Screenshot that.
Screenshotting it, putting it right onto fucking Reddit right now.
Got the receipts.
Yeah.
So, random thing, I just killed Duriel and he dropped the Chaos unique. I didn't realize the lair bosses could drop them too. Seems like you'll kind of like find them randomly throughout the game as well, which is nice.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
I mean,
I think they buffed the initial drop rate of uniques too as well, like in general. For like the outer world farming, like T4 in general.
Yeah. I mean, it's like me opening a, the goblin events that we have, the bags that you get, opening a random one and getting a mythic. It's like, yep, apparently mythics drops from everywhere now. It's like, oh, it could just happen. But yeah, I don't know. I think like I'm genuinely worried about the drop rate for Chaos Armor when it comes to builds that require specific ones in specific slots, but I think the concept of it is very welcome. I think that now we start getting into how can we finesse our character to be as strong as possible? Any closing like thoughts or anything before we end the pod for now?
Well, it was like a long time coming. We mentioned for like 2 months that we should come together and just talk rogue things. I thought it was fun. I think we could definitely do this again, and even like there's so much about the game that we didn't touch on. Like we didn't even talk about like specifics diving into Infernal Horde changes. Like what do we think about that? So like, we could definitely do this more if people enjoy listening to it. I think, and me as a Diablo 4 player, I enjoy having content like this to have on my second monitor while I play. Like I know Maxwell has done, like Woody has done some podcasts before. I've always enjoyed like hearing various opinions about the state of the game and thoughts on the changes that are coming and even ideas for how to improve the game. So I think it's a bit of a gap in the, especially in Diablo 4 right now. Obviously, like it's like a drought of content, even content creators. A lot of the other ARPGs are getting a lot of attention, PoE and Last Epoch and stuff like that. So I think we did a good thing here today, lads, and I think we should. I'd be down to do it again.
Yeah, same.
I think it helps that we're also like vastly different in terms of like how we like the game. I guess you could say how we enjoy the game, how we approach the game, and also the class itself. So while we responsible for writing the guides and stuff like that, I think our personal approaches are different enough where if they don't jive with two people, they at least jive with one person. It's like, oh yeah, he's different enough. He's weird. He's just like me, in a sense.
There's it's like hilarious when we were talking about our favorite archetypes or something. We all had such specific like favorite rogue builds, even though we are rogue players.
Well, I'm not allowed to say dash rogue because Woody will absolutely hunt me down if I do. Monk. Free dash rogue. Nah, but I agree. I think like we have differing enough opinions to the point where it's not like just patting ourselves on the back and agreeing with each other. It's like, I think this. It's like, oh, wait, really? And then we like talk about it. I do think that we could use an agenda that we kind of loosely follow and try to keep it, relatively on topic for the things that we talk about. Because right now I'm like thinking about how to make a table of content for this, and I'm like, we're in dead. I'm just gonna put we talk about the season for like 90% of the podcast, and then just be like, you find it. You find whatever we're talking about. Any final comments from the viewers? We have a couple. Any questions or like thought about this format where we just sit down and talk about the PTR? Was it interesting enough?
if you're watching on YouTube or like a video afterwards of the recording, leave a comment, your thoughts, if we should do it more often or any ideas.
See this guy.
Highlight podcast.
This guy one. Fucking YouTubes.
Furio says you thought it was really cool and he enjoyed it. Appreciate you watching.
Q&A, maybe?
He just says Q&A after the podcast. Fair. We can do that in the future.
I was planning on sitting here after stream a little bit and grab some extra Q&As that I could maybe put in the comment section after, but I see. How does it feel to have worse numbers than Crayon and Jars? I mean,
I see.
we have that every season, I see. This is nothing new.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm gonna end my recording for this now. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. I'm just gonna download the VOD after because lazy. Hope it works.
GG's.
That's a wrap.
It's been like that since season 6. Yep.
I'm gonna like my last thing for PTR is gonna be the rapid fire. I'm just excited to try the overpower rapid fire to see how bad it is in terms of playability.
Oh boy. I mean, I've been doing something like that, a non-overpower version of that actually throughout most of this podcast, and
is it good?
I mean, it's satisfying when you hit something with a big orange number. I'm not gonna lie, but until then, it's pretty ass to play.
I mean, during Stagger, I mean, you were doing like 2 trillion hits in that video. Well, like not you, but he was doing 2 trillion.
Yeah,
that is a big bonk.
And why wasn't he running Cunning Stratagem? Like, wouldn't that be worth getting extra arrows? Or
you get one extra arrow.
Rune? Okay, only one.
I don't think he knows that it's he may not know that it's not that it's not giving as many arrows as they're intended, which is actually another thing too as well. I'm surprised they didn't really like touch that legendary note. Like if they wanted us to do things with combo points and that type of play style, like Cunning Stratagem should have been touched. Like that literally is that board. It is the combo point board, and they did nothing with it. And I thought that was really weird and odd. And I'm like,
yeah,
like not even like do anything with it, but at least fix it. Like, I mean, even if you don't do like a buff to it, like at least fix it to where it gives you the appropriate amount of arrows.
I think they should have just like completely like they need to rework the combo points. Sorry. Like combat stats that you get from it. It's like, yeah, Twisting Blade's movement speed, woohoo! Like you don't really like you just do it, I think.
Yeah.
Another thing combo point related is the expectant aspect. I feel like it should say like you deal 15% increased damage per combo point spent. So or something. So because then no ceiling. So you could like put it on a two-hander or something. And the amulet. But right now it's like absolutely useless on an amulet and on a two-hander. And it's even still bad on it's like really bad on a one-hander. It's like the aspect just doesn't make sense anymore.
Especially if you won one.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, 12% damage or whatever it is.
But if it said like per combo point spent, then it would work in the current state of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really sad that they phrased the wording on Orphan Maker that is like while like attacks using this weapon, and then it doesn't work like that. It just attacks that has required ranged weapon in the flavor text that can utilize it. Because it was like I was even theory crafting like, oh, maybe this is the return of mired caltrops. Like maybe we'll do the turret build now this season with a Giga reload turret or something. And it's like, nope, doesn't work with caltrops, doesn't work for any trap. It's depresso. Anyhoot, I suppose I will chatty with stream for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go to bed because I'm starting to get a cold, and that's gonna be fucking rough. So I will.
Yeah, talk to you guys later, and I will stay on my stream doing rapid fire. That's my plan for now.
All right, guys. Well, it was.
I think we should raid Matthias.
Yeah, we're raiding Matthias the
like
second I go to bed.
Watch me get a headache from rapid fire.
Hell no. All right, stream. Say bye to Matthias and I.
Peace.